Good morning, Year 10. I hope you are all doing well and enjoying some more home learning. As you can see, we're continuing on with language, so stay in the language section of your book, please. Continue this on in your book, or if you're doing it on computer, keep it in the same document from where you were doing question 1 and question 2 yesterday. The extract we're looking at is still Jaws. We're now going to look at question 3. So your subheading is question 3, structure. Now, this is the question you will get every time we practice this and in the exam. How has the writer structured the text to interest you as a reader? I'm going to put some bullet points up. I'm going to very briefly talk through them, and you need to note them down. So you may need to pause this slide once all the bullet points are up. So, what's the narrative focus in the beginning, in the middle, and at the end? What that means is, what is the main aspect of the paragraph in the beginning? How is it opening? Okay, what is the writer focusing on? It could be the environment, it could be a character, it could be an idea, it could be a dream. Okay, what is that focus? And then somewhere in the middle, doesn't have to be exactly in the middle, but further into the extract, where do we see a significant switch, a shift of focus? Okay, where does something change? Now that could be a change from one character to another. It could be from focusing on the environment to focusing on a character. It could be a change of a character being isolated to suddenly they're with people and now we have dialogue. That's a significant shift. And then we have to look at the end. How does that last, or if they're very small paragraphs, the last 2 paragraphs end? Where does the focus come to for the end? Does it link back to the beginning? Is it in a completely different place again? How has everything changed by that end point? Because this question is 8 marks, but we want 3 paragraphs, because you have to write 1 paragraph about the beginning, 1 paragraph about some kind of shift somewhere in the middle, and then the last paragraph is on the end. So when and how does the focus shift through the extract? How does the tone or mood change across the text? And link that change into those shifts of focus. How have they altered or developed that mood or tone? What is the pace? Does the pace stay the same? As we get a shift, does the pace quicken or does the pace slow? Okay, what is the impact of that? And how does the reader feel as we go through all of these choices the writer has made when they're shifting focus, when they're switching from narration to dialogue? That's to impact us. How has it impacted us? What has it made us feel? What has it made us learn? What is it making us realise? How is it developing the introduction to this environment? And what new information do we learn that either increases or possibly decreases tension? And that will link back to that earlier bullet point of what impact does it have on us? Because tension in and of itself is a big impact. And then cyclical narrative, make sure you add this to your vocabulary bank. So a cyclical narrative is a narrative that the opening, the beginning and the ending have a link. So for example, you may have a character that is opening a bottle of water and drinking it in that first paragraph. And then we get a description about the environment and how hot it is. And by the last paragraph, we've had lots of things happen and information given to us. But in that last paragraph, we're ending with the writer now putting the lid back on the bottle. So it's creating almost like a circle. Okay, we start with the character opening the bottle and drinking. We end the extract with the character closing the bottle and beginning something new. So cyclical narrative, when you're writing that paragraph on the end, is really, really key if it is one and if you can identify it. So you've read the opening sections of this extract. I want you now to reread the extract as a whole. You have to read the extract as a whole for question 3. Okay? So pause here to write down those notes and to read the extract. Now, question 3. Task 1, okay, you're going to do this in this order, okay? You're going to go through the text and outside every paragraph, note down what the focus is. So that isn't only the beginning, the middle and the end. I want you to think about every paragraph. What is the focus of that paragraph? Is it on a particular character? Is it on a particular issue that that character has? Is it on the environment? Are we outside or are we inside? What is the key thing that that writer is getting across to you in that paragraph? Okay. So, for example, paragraph 1, focus on an unknown fish. What happens in paragraph 2? Do we stay focused on that unknown fish? Do we learn more about that unknown fish? Or do we switch to something else? Once you've done that and I'm going to repeat this again, every paragraph, task 2, go through the text and outside every paragraph, note down what the tone is like. So I would suggest doing task 1 on one side of the paragraph and task 2 on the other, so you can see the difference in your notes, okay? So for example, paragraph 1, very calm, relaxed tone, because it's an unknown fish. We're unclear as to whether or not this is something that is going to be lovely or dangerous. So it's all very calm, very relaxed. There's no tension at this point. You might want to pause this here to keep this slide up while you do those 2 tasks. So, useful structural sentences. So we talk about structure in a different way to language, okay? So we need to talk about how does it open. So the extract begins with a focus on. The extract opens with a focus on. The introduction the writer gives us in the opening of the extract is. Any of those 3 work really well for that opening paragraph. As the text develops, the writer shifts the focus to. So this could be, there's a shift when, or as we get to the middle of the extract, the writer has shifted the focus to, or the one that I've got as the example there. At the end, the focus shifts at the end too, or the ending reminds the reader that, the ending encourages the reader to feel, or the ending has a cyclical narrative. Okay, any of those you could use as potential sentence starters. So, how do we structure an answer to question 3? We want what, evidence, explain. Okay, so what is the focus on? What is the focus on and at what part in the text? You have to identify that. Don't just say there's a focus on this, oh, then there's a focus on this. In the beginning, in the opening, in the introduction, okay? Evidence, that's our quote, same as we have it in literature, and then explain the effect. Why does focus, what is the impact of that focus? What do we learn? Link that to what we looked at in terms of tone. Some more sentence starters. This creates, this makes the reader, this sets, and this suggests. So all of this can be used for the explain the effect on the reader. Here is a mini example. So the writer in the beginning focuses on an unknown fish swimming innocently in the sea. So that's our what. Because it says the great fish swam slowly, its tail waving. That's our quote, that's our evidence, that's what we're using to link to that point. This creates a calm tone at the beginning to make the reader not suspect that any danger is ahead, because the fish is swimming slowly, it's waving a tail. Also, the writer focuses on an unknown fish rather than a shark to trap the reader in a false sense of security that this fish is just a calm creature. So you're identifying the fact that it's very specific that we're just told the great fish. Okay, we're not told the shark, because as soon as we're told the shark swam slowly, that tone is changed. The writer very deliberately only tells us great fish. Okay, so here is another example of how you could be approaching paragraph 2. So as the text develops, the focus shifts to a boy who has drifted on a boat at sea on his own, because it says he had noticed that he had been carried out. This slightly lessens the calm tone at the start, because even though the boy is relaxed, dipping in and out of the water, you can use secondary quotes, okay? The writer has heightened some anxiety for the reader here, because the boy has drifted away from his mother and could be at threat of drowning or getting too lost at sea. The writer pays attention to the boy's relaxed attitude to further trap the reader in a false sense of security. This was created at the start with the unknown fish, so we're showing that we're aware of how the writer develops and builds, okay? You want to link back to, because it's all about structure, so it's how have they pieced it together? How have they built on this? Now, you are going to do this yourself, okay? So you can use the quotes that I've given you in the examples, but if possible, try and find a different quote. It's not the end of the world if you use those quotes, but you cannot copy what is on the slide. All of your teachers have this slide, so they will know if you just copy, okay? So you need to produce 3 paragraphs, okay? Each has to have a what, each has to have evidence, each has to have an explanation. You've got some sentence starters. You've got sentence starters on a slide further back as well. Please, the work you need to send through to your teachers are those 3 paragraphs, okay? Email that work to your teacher, or if your teacher has added that onto a Teams assignment, then upload it there, okay? Remember to link the text as a whole journey. How has each element built on the other, or are there contrasts, okay? Give yourselves 15 minutes to write those 3 paragraphs, okay? Try and write each paragraph in 5 minutes. Trying to keep your timetable will make life a lot easier for you in that exam when you come to do it. So 15 minutes ideally. If you need a little bit longer, as this is your first go, that's fine. But if you can, keep it to 15 minutes. If you have any questions, please email your teacher or myself. I hope you will have a lovely day, Year 10, and we look forward to seeing you next week.